Welcome to World's Finest, the DC Comics Review, your weekly guide to the DC Comics. I am Phil Parrish, your Batman, and Tyler, your Superman, is not here again. He is knee-deep in family issues, so let's get into it. I'm going to begin with Convergence number 3, but before I get to my review, I have some pre-recorded audio from Tyler, so let's hear what Tyler thought of Convergence 2 and 3.
I'm back. Sorry about this, but oversight from last week, I missed Convergence 2. That's what happens when you're just busy, and I apologize because things have been crazy here in the lair for me. Some fatherly duties, which brings me to Convergence number 2. Dick Grayson has a son, and as a recent father, it just gets to me. We see the Earth 2 fighters still fighting Telos as it starts, and Dick doesn't have any skills. He was a reporter. What happened to Dick's son? Who knows? We see some of the future in Earth. We learn that Green Lantern taps into the core of the Earth's power, or the planet, should I say, that they're on. Thomas, Batman, goes off to explore, finds another Batcave from a different Gotham, and meets Alfred, who meets Bruce. So we have a scene of Bruce Wayne and Thomas Wayne staring at each other. It's some pretty heavy stuff. We see a couple glimpses of other worlds. We don't really know what happens between the Batmen. Continues, and then the end, a new person arrives. So pretty heavy. I give it a 4. Convergence is very interesting right now. I'm not always 100% sure what I'm thinking about it. I think right now, just because the main books are just focused, to me, there's not really a story. I feel like these main books of Convergence feel more like they should be one-offs for Earth 2. So I'm kind of, I don't know how I feel, just because I feel like all I'm reading is about Earth 2. Second books, so now, this week, Convergence Book 3. Some great shots of Val-Zod fighting drones. He's getting depowered. We see Telos talking to more worlds. Telos visits Kandar and destroys Kandar completely. Thomas Batman has the Bat Plane. Some great artwork. I mean, I'm loving the artwork. We see some more references to what Brainiac started. We learn, like I said, Val-Zod is draining his power. Thomas Wayne takes on some of the Batman villains and does something crazy I won't spoil here. Dick gets shot by the Joker, and then it reminds me of how he shot Barbara, which is ironic because this Dick married Barbara. And then, of course, Telos breaks Joker's neck and says he's horrible for every timeline. And then it ends with Val-Zod and then discovering something. So this one I give a 4. Like I said, I want to see, in Convergence, I want to see more than just the Earth 2 figures. So we're almost halfway through Convergence. It's an 8-book run. And, so that's it from this, from Tyler's quick brief. That's the only books I got to read because I'm poor. And that's all I could afford. So you guys have a good one and enjoy. Remember, support your local shop.
And I think I have to agree with Tyler. Convergence number 3, I'll give a 4. I think he made a good point that the main book, it's a loosely knit story. It seems like there's more going on in the side issues. That's probably the point. That I think the main series is just there to set the groundwork for all the side issues. So let's dive into the next one. I got Convergence Hawkman number 1. All right. Before I begin, this week, all of these stories are set right before Crisis on Infinite Earths, so these follow the DC heroes of the 1980s, the mid-1980s. So Convergence Hawkman number 1, we get Carter and Sierra Hall, who have been trapped under the dome for a year in a version of Gotham, Um, they've been making the most of it, working at the local museum. They realize that there are spies from their home world of Thanagar there, and as they're dealing with the spies, the dome goes down. Not until the end. It's kind of weird. Some issues they drop the dome pretty quickly. Others, the dome doesn't drop until the last page of this issue, just because the dome doesn't affect the Hawks. It doesn't, they just have wings, and all their powers are equipment based, so the dome didn't affect their powers. We don't see who they're going to have to fight in the challenge to save the world. So, Convergence Hawkman #1. I think I want to like this story. I like the art. I'm going to give it a 3.5 just because it seemed kind of slow. Like a lot didn't happen. So 3.5. Next issue, Convergence Green Lantern Corps #1. We see, like I said, it's right before Crisis, so we see Guy Gardner, who's just come out of his coma, and he's feeling, I don't know, left out of a lot of things, Green Lantern things, by Hal Jordan and John Stewart. Everyone's just trying to live their life. John's helping build things as an architect. Guy goes to see Carol Ferris, and she says that her and Hal were engaged, but the night of the engagement party, Hal leaves because Hal's doing everything he can to contact Oa. That's the question. If he had gotten through, which Oa would he have gotten through to? His Oa from the 80s? The current Oa? Who knows? Maybe Hal Jordan could have rode to his own rescue, but once again, towards the end of the issue, the dome comes down and Hal's able to recharge his ring. He knocks Guy out because he doesn't think Guy's going to be able to help them. Guy's just going to get in his way. So at the end of the issue, we see Guy wake up, basically load himself up with a baseball bat and taser and any other equipment he can find and ride off with on a motorcycle. So who knows where this is going to go. Once again, 3.5, because once again, I don't know, it seemed like it took a while for this to get going, and we still don't know who Hal Jordan or John Stewart or any of them are going to have to face in the coming battle. So 3.5. Next up is Justice League of America #1, featuring the always controversial Justice League Detroit. For those of you who don't know, at this point in history, Aquaman had disbanded the Justice League. All the big guns were gone: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash. So we get Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, Zatanna, and Elongated Man with newcomers Vibe, Gypsy, Vixen, and Steel. Not the John Henry Iron Steel, an earlier version of Steel. He was a cyborg. So the dome goes down pretty quickly in this one because everyone gets their powers back. Aquaman can once again go underwater. Elongated Man gets his powers back. The interesting thing I thought about this issue was John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, was trapped in a human form the whole time the dome was up. So for a year, he had to live in a human body with no telepathy, no shape-shifting. And then we see that the Detroit Justice League has to fight the Secret Six, which is basically versions of the DC heroes from another universe. We get Plastic Man, a Joker, a teenage girl version of the Flash, Spectre, Manhunter, and they think they had blown up half of the Justice League when they blew up the gym they had been working out in, but at the end of the issue we see Vibe, Steel, Vixen, and Elongated Man did survive, so the battle is about to be joined. Really like this issue. The art, the story, it's all good. We get some action. We get the big battle for the fate of the world. So, Convergence, Justice League of America #1, I will give you 4 stars. And next up, we will go to Adventures of Superman. And this issue is brought to you by The Last Daughter of Krypton, the Supergirl podcast, hosted by the absent Tyler. So, like I said, these stories take place right before Crisis on Infinite Earths. So, we see a Supergirl right before she is about to meet her end in Crisis. Superman and Supergirl think they found a creative way to maybe get out of the dome with the help of Lucius Fox, because once again they're trapped in a version of Gotham. They create a portal into the Phantom Zone, and then try to pop into the Phantom Zone, and hopefully they can pop out in a point that's outside of the dome. But I don't know if they counted on meeting General Zod and a bunch of Kryptonian super criminals. But they did. Superman is captured. Supergirl is about to go back for him, but there's a point that she's on a plane, like a flat plane, not an airplane, but there's some kind of gas or something that makes her, or fog that makes her hallucinate, and she sees her fate in Crisis, but she still thinks, I have to get back and save Superman because he has to save the universe after I die. So she goes back, knocks out some of the Kryptonian criminals, but at the end of the issue, we see them surrounded by the Kryptonian super criminals. And meanwhile, back in Gotham, under the dome, Lucius sees the challenge, I guess, that the Superman and Supergirl have to face. It looks like an army of apes from the planet of the apes. I don't know where they're from. Maybe from Kamandi, Last Boy on Earth's Earth. I don't know, but I think once Superman and Supergirl get back, they could probably deal with a bunch of, even though there's a lot of them, I think they can easily deal with a bunch of apes on horseback. Decent issue. We got a lot of action with the Kryptonian criminals and Zod, and it had the feel of a pre-Crisis Superman story, so I'm going to give this one 4.5. If you're a fan of Superman, especially that era, I would pick it up. Alright, next up we have Convergence Flash number 1. This issue is brought to you by many podcasts, the Flash Arrow Power Hour, hosted by myself, Tyler, and Zach. The Flashpoint and Queen Consolidated podcast, hosted by Lilith and Kelly, and the Fast Talkers podcast, hosted by Scott and Jeff. Alright, Flash number 1. If you'll remember, 2 weeks ago we got Speed Force, which was the Wally West Flash. Flash number 1, this is Barry Allen, again right before Crisis, right before he meets his end. Yes, it takes place right after the final issue of his series, first series, The Flash 350, and his death in Crisis on Infinite Earths, because he has been living in the future with Iris in the 30th century. But Barry's pretty depressed under the dome because for a year he's been separated from Iris, and he hasn't had his super speed. So he's had to throw himself in the work. He's been working forensics for the Gotham City Police Department. We see him meet with Bruce Wayne and talk about, how depressed he is, and is this going to be forever? And then he's about to go back to work, and Barry sees the dome drop, and Talos giving his speech, which we've seen in every issue so far. But then he finally figures out he has his super speed, so he speeds off. He had his costume and his ring. Pre-Crisis Flash, gotta love him. But he runs up a skyscraper, and they get a lay of the land. Now that the dome's down, he sees the other cities, and then he runs into a Superman. I believe this is the Tangent Universe Superman. I'm not familiar with him, so I don't know what his powers are, but he's floating in the air, and he tells him, I am the Superman, and Barry's like, you're the who? And that's the end of the issue. We don't get to see any fight between them. It was mostly Barry moping around, but still, unlike the other issues, I really liked this issue. Gave me pre-Crisis Barry vibe. I really liked it. And, I'm going to give this one a 5. Even though there wasn't much action, I I felt for Barry Allen. Got me kind of emotional. So, like I said, 5 stars. If you are a fan of The Flash, especially Barry Allen, pick this up. Alright, the last 2 books I will review are Batman and the Outsiders #1 and New Teen Titans #1. Both of these books, we're going to squeeze Teen Titans into the Batman section just because Nightwing. But both of these books are brought to you by Before the Bat, the Gotham podcast, hosted by myself, Kelly, and Tyler. So let's get into Batman and the Outsiders #1. Once again, pre-crisis, so we get the classic Outsiders team of Batman, Katana, Black Lightning, Metamorpho, Geoforce, and Halo. So once again, the team's been under the dome in Gotham for a year. Batman's trying to keep the peace. We see him in the beginning talking to Gordon about it, about how the natives are starting to get restless. Then we see Black Lightning helping people set up solar panels. He's in costume. I don't know why, since he has no powers. Then we see Katana watching over Halo, since she's basically an energy being inhabiting a dead body. I guess ever since the dome went up, she's been in a coma. We see Geoforce helping construction workers. Once again, has no powers. Everyone's pretty depressed, because they have no powers under the dome and they've been trapped. And everyone's been kind of restless, except for Metamorpho. It seems with the dome up and no powers, he has the idyllic life with Sapphire Stag, because he doesn't have his power, so he's a normal human man with a normal human body. Then we see Batman in the Batcave trying to figure out, is there a way out of the dome? We see glimpses of all the Outsiders members until the dome comes down. Everyone's powers activate. Poor Metamorpho, him and Sapphire were in the shower. I think he might have burned her arm. As his elemental powers returned. Looks like Halo's waking up in a big flash of light. Geoforce is hovering above the city as Telos gives his big speech to everyone, but with the dome down. On the last page, once again, we don't see the battle, but we see who the Outsiders are going to face. It looks like the classic version of OMAC, Mohawk and all. So once again, not a lot of action. A lot of setup, but it's Batman and the Outsiders once again. It had that classic 80s Batman and the Outsiders feel. So I'm going to give this one 4 stars or whatever rating we give these things. And that brings us to Convergence New Teen Titans #1. Once again, it's pre-crisis, so we are smack dab in the classic Marv Wolfman run, and well, look, what a coincidence. Marv Wolfman wrote this issue, so this one had to feel pre-crisis because the same writer who wrote the book back then is writing this one. It opens up. Donna Troy is recording a message for her husband, hoping she'll see him again. Then we see Nightwing and Starfire on, looks like, high-tech hang gliders. So I guess since Starfire can't fly, can't shoot energy bolts, so she's flying with this hang glider and shooting missiles from it at criminals. She's going stir crazy. She wants to kill criminals. Once again, we get some more Tangent Universe characters. It looks like they're going to be the Titans' foes. I like how Wolfman did this, mixed it up a little bit. The dome goes down early again, and we actually see the Tangent Universe characters right before the dome goes down. And then we see Beast Boy, Cyborg, Jericho, and Cole. And they all have their powers back. They all meet. Well, they're all going to meet at the tower. And then the Tangent Universe heroes attack because, of course, they want to save their world. The Titans meet up and converge, and they're fighting the Tangent Universe villains. You have to see this to enjoy it. Trust me. Wolfman writing the Titans again. Pencils by Nicholas Scott. Excellent, excellent pencils. And once they see that they're fighting heroes, the Tangent heroes flee. But Nightwing and Starfire are, I believe they're married. They're not engaged, they're married. Yeah, I believe they're married. And at the end, Dawn is having a talk with Nightwing, telling him, well, you should need to talk to Corey. You know, there's this thing hanging over your head. She's getting more bloodthirsty. And Nightwing's like, well, if we weren't trapped in this dome for a year, I don't know if we would be married. And as we see from our universe, the regular DC universe, that ended up being the case. And they were close to getting married. They were there on their wedding day, but they didn't get married. But the issue ends. The Tangent heroes are planning an attack on the Titans until the Tangent universe version of Firehawk contacts Nightwing and tells him they need to talk. So I don't know if she's going to tell him their whole plan or help him defuse the whole situation, but I can't wait. Like I said, the dome went down early. Wolfman kind of differed from everyone else's approach by showing us a lot of the Tangent heroes, the other side of the battle. So, like I said, a lot of good story in this, good art. Wolfman writing the Titans again, and great art. So, and of course it has Nightwing. So, New Teen Titans #1. I'm going to give this one another 5. So, Flash and New Teen Titans got 5s for me this week. And I think that is about it. I'm out of books. So, please get a hold of us. Tell us what you think of Convergence. We love hearing people talk comics with us. Get a hold of me at nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I'm at nightwingpdp. Get a hold of Tyler at jtypatrick@gmail.com. And on Twitter, he's at jtypatrick. And remember, you can also contact us on Facebook. Please, please, please go to our Facebook page. You can find us facebook.com/World's Finest Podcast. Give us a like and let's have some conversation. Like I said, we'd love to talk comics. So tell us if you're loving Convergence as much as we are. Like we both said, the side books I think are our favorites more than the actual main story. So until next week, come back. We'll still be in the thick of Convergence. I am Phil, your Batman, and on behalf of Tyler, your Superman, come back next week. Convergence is here. Let's get through it together. Good night.